Traveling Through Life, a podcast on the go. I'm your host, Tara, and the founder of the blog Travel with TMc, which is where this adventure all began. Traveling Through Life, a podcast on the go, is a fun and quirky show that delves into all things travel and adventures from the road, in the air, or in between here and there. And if you're watching this podcast on YouTube, you'll see the beautiful setting behind me. I'm filming this intro for my Airbnb in Antigua, Guatemala, and even though you can't see it right now, there's a huge volcano right behind me. Absolutely wild. Anyhow, make sure to subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen so that you can get notifications for new episodes each week. And don't forget to leave a 5-star review and comment on who you'd like to hear in future episodes. This season, we cover all sorts of travel topics. It's my hope that some of them will be relatable and that others will inspire you to see the world in new ways. This week on Traveling Through Life, a podcast on the go, we meet Hannah and Emmett, co-owners of Steveston Creative in British Columbia and parents to 3 fantastic boys. We cover everything from cross-Canada train trips to childhood experiences in China to moving to each other's countries and now traveling together as a family of 5. We talk about them learning how to use points and miles. Fun fact, they were actually my first clients and they're on their 2nd trip to Ireland with points and miles right now. It's allowed them to stay connected with relatives on both sides of the Atlantic in a super affordable way. From homeschooling and Irish language integration into their daily lives, this bicultural family are pros at exploring at home on Vancouver Island and around the globe. Thank you for listening, and let's dive into this week's episode. Hi, Hannah.
Hey, Tara. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you guys?
We're doing well.
Yeah.
Good.
Doing well.
I'm so pumped to have you on the podcast, and even more grateful that our paths crossed, dare I say, 12 years ago in Dublin.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
That sounds about right, 12 years ago.
It's crazy. It's crazy. So for people who are just tuning in, Hannah and Emmett are good friends of mine. Emmett's from Ireland. Hannah's from Canada. We'll get into that later. But Hannah was actually the very first friend that I met in Ireland 2 days after I landed. So we go way back.
Yeah.
We don't get to see each other hang out as often as we would like. But when we get to chat, it's always easy to pick back up. So I'm very grateful to have you guys here today.
Yeah, we're excited to be here, and we love following along with all of the stuff that you've been doing with Travel with TMc and everything. So yeah, we're excited to chat.
Thanks. Yeah, so why don't you guys tell everybody about yourselves, who you are, what you do, what kind of travel you enjoy, and where you're calling in from today.
Sure. You want to start?
Okay, we are calling from Victoria, BC in Canada, and we are a homeschooling family, so my role is mostly with the kids, and we go up to work, and then on top of that, we do have a small business that we run, so it's a very busy life. Most of our travel right now, I don't like saying busy, it's a full life. It's full. It's not crazy busy. We try to structure our lives that we're not using that word busy, but it's full. Most of our travel is going back and forth to Ireland right now in this stage of life. We'd love to do more, but that's just kind of how it's working out right now. We usually go for a little chunk of time. We try to go every 2 years, or we used to go, there was a chunk of time before kids that we would go every year. And then it's just the way it's happened every 2 years. But pre-kids, we did lots of other kinds of travel.
You guys did a big train trek across Canada, did you
We
not?
did.
Oh,
We traveled across Canada by train for 3 weeks before we left and moved to Dublin. That was like our exit from the country. That was a good exit.
That's a brilliant exit. Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yes.
3 weeks, like solid. I mean, off and on the train, but yeah. And you don't really get to do that very much in Canada because train is a lot more expensive here.
It's one of those trips that we always look back on, like with such fondness, that it's one of those things that we'll never likely get to do again until potentially we're much older and retired. It was just like,
and then we're going to be doing it like top of the line.
That's right. Yeah.
Like I'm going to have the nicest cabin possible. That was like sleeping in the chairs. Yeah, like
it was sleeping in the chairs, and so Hannah had this whole system like every night where she like get herself all set up and get her earmuffs in and get
the chairs did go back a little bit further, and there was this thing that like hooked from underneath the to the front, like the back of the other chair, so you got like a little bit of a lounger, but it was pretty specific. Like, yeah.
It's a young person's game.
It's a young person's game. Yeah.
As we're in our 30s and saying this.
Well, but it's a very
a younger person's game.
Yeah.
I think I remember seeing one family on the train at one point, but it was a shorter distance.
Yeah, I don't think they were going.
And they had like 2 kids, and they were probably like 12 or 10 or something like that. I don't think they had littles. Yeah,
so we started off in Vancouver, and we essentially hit every major city along the way. The first leg was the longest one. Oh, no, it wasn't. The first leg was only 24 hours. We stopped in Edmonton.
Just 24 hours on a train straight from Vancouver to Edmonton. And then we had friends to visit in Edmonton. And then we went Edmonton to Toronto. And that was 3 days on the train with like a couple hour stops. Like they weren't long stops. They were just like hop off, grab a couple things from a convenience store, hop back on. And we went to Montreal and Quebec and Quebec City,
Quebec City.
We went all the way to Halifax for less than 24 hours just to say that we'd been there. The thing with the train trip is you had to do it within 3 weeks. So you could have 7 one-way trips each with a stopover. So you had 14 tickets, but they all had to be used within 3 weeks. And there's a lot of ground to cover in Canada. So like when you spend 3 days on a train, then there's like a chunk of your trip, right? Like
you should tell her about how you planned the trip.
Oh yeah, I planned it. It was St. Patrick's Day, and Emmett had been off all day, and I had not.
That's a euphemism for something, right?
So I came home.
Was this our first St. Patrick's Day together? No,
second St. Patrick's Day together. Obviously, it's a big deal because Emmett's Irish, and I had worked all day. Emmett had taken it off. Came home, got ready to go out, and waited. And he came home and was like beyond capable. Like he couldn't like walk. He was like crawling through. Like I like cleaned up after him being sick multiple times, put him to bed a couple times, and then I planned the entire trip that night because I was like, well, what am I gonna do now? So I like planned every stopover and had it all down to like
say, I'll be there.
The date, the time the trains left, and like where we had to be, and how many days we could spend in this, because the trains also only leave, or at the time they only left. You could only do like a 24-hour or a 3-day stop. So like you had to choose how often. So yeah, some places it was they didn't leave every day. So that was like
gotcha. And did you have to have a final destination chosen for that trip, or was it just whenever the time expired, the 3 weeks expired, your trip would be up, sort of thing?
I don't remember. I know we booked all the tickets in advance
because we had plane tickets to fly to Ireland after that. Then,
right?
Because that was us. Like,
did we go to Boston first though?
No.
Yeah.
Did we? Oh, we did. Yeah, we did.
We flew
from Toronto to Boston.
Boston, visited his brother, and then Boston to
Ireland.
No, first we went to Newfoundland.
London. What?
Not Newfoundland. Where did we go camping with your family?
Oh, we went to Holland.
We went to Holland.
What?
That's right.
With all of our stuff that we had just moved from Canada.
Yeah, we had all these like backpacks and everything.
Did we stop in Belfast or something? I don't know. But
no, we flew straight to Holland.
Went to Holland. Went to like a family reunion at like this kids park. What was it called? Duinrell. Yes. And it was very quaint. It was like a Disneyland, but like much smaller.
European Disneyland.
And it was like you could camp or stay in like trailers. And so we stayed in trailers, and
they're called bungalows.
Yeah. And you could rent bikes at this amusement. So we like had bikes for the whole week, and we'd like bike around. It was very...
I completely forgot about that.
I'd go back again, actually, now that I have kids. Like, because we stayed with like... There was like 30 or 40 of your cousins. So we all went. Most of them all had kids. So we were
amazing.
Like...
We were the young couple at the time.
Yeah. So then we went from
Aw.
there to London, then London to Ireland.
Yes.
Lived in Ireland for almost a year.
Yes. So I went to university. We went back to Dublin so I could go back to university and
And I
spend some
worked.
time in Ireland.
That's where we met.
Yay.
And
I didn't
then
realize that
we went.
that was your first friend.
Yeah, and actually you were my first friend because we had only been in Dublin. I'd been in Ireland already for a month or so, but out at your family's. Yeah, because we'd also gone to a wedding.
Yeah, so travel was definitely a big part of.
Yeah, we did Italy as well, and we've done.
Yes, we traveled around Italy with your parents.
Austria.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit, and I don't know, a couple other places, here and there. I've been to separately Croatia on my own, and spent a summer living in London on my own before.
China for
and,
a couple
I've been to China, but that was work, and you did Europe travel before we met. So travel's always been quite important to us.
Fantastic.
And we'll hope to get more of it in now post-COVID and getting our lives. We did a big move in the past 2 years, so that changed things up. And
you guys have gone farther away from me. What gives?
Only by a little bit, but you're right. It just made it more and more
Vancouver to Victoria.
Okay, wait, hold on. We need to touch on like how you guys actually met, because we talked about all the traveling that you did together, but maybe we should.
Do you want the short form or the true story?
Your kids might listen to this podcast one day, so you go for whichever one you want to share.
It's PG. It's PG.
Yeah, so I had traveled. Oh, I hear one of our sons shouting at us. So I had traveled to Canada on a 1-year working visa. I came with 2 friends from university. So it was 2009, like April 2009, that I arrived in Vancouver. And we had come to Canada, to Vancouver specifically, because the Winter Olympics were happening the following year in 2010. So we thought that would be a cool thing to do. And my sister had lived here previously as well in Vancouver, and her husband has family here. So there was a bit of a connection there. But yeah, halfway through the year, or actually not halfway, 2/3 the way through the year, I had made some friends that had invited me and the other 2 guys, John and Ian, to a gig that her brother was playing at. And as it turns out,
that was my high school best friend. So he had just randomly met them, and she was trying to fill the bar for her brother. The gig was on Boxing Day. So like not the most popular day to go out on ground. Yeah, just like the day after Christmas, lots of people are relaxing, but she was trying to fill the bar essentially. And so she invited all of us like separately. So I went with another friend.
She invited everyone she knew.
To try and fill the bar. And then she introduced everybody, just like, oh, this is this person, this is this person, as we're kind of all standing around having a drink. And we ended up chatting at some point.
Yeah.
And
we didn't really stop
chatting. We didn't really stop chatting.
Yeah.
And then I was really interested to see if he was like, is he just chatting with me because we're here, or is he interested? So I was like, I'm going to get another drink. I didn't want another drink. Like, I was fine. But I was like, if he comes and pays for the drink, then I know he's interested. And he was like, okay, see you later. And I was like, so then I had to go and get myself a drink. And I was like, oh, okay, well, he's not interested. But then later he came back and asked for my number before he left.
Surprised you gave me the number. I didn't get you a drink.
Mm-hmm. So he's been paying for my drinks ever since.
So when I left the bar, the other 2 guys, like John and Ian, John said to me as I was walking out, Jesus Christ, Gallagher, you made a beeline for that one, didn't you? So
called you out.
He knew I was interested.
And then basically we went on a date a couple days later, few days later.
December 30th, yeah.
And then that was pretty much it.
Yeah, so I was due to go back home. Like, my 1-year visa was up at the end of April 2010. And so I had to kind of make a decision. And we just said that we'd have fun and enjoy ourselves with the time we had. And then coming towards the end of that time, I said that I was going to apply for permanent residency. which
Yeah.
she was pretty happy with.
Oh man, I remember that process too. Weren't you guys still going through that in Ireland as well? I remember hearing about that process from the two of you. Maybe you had already completed
You
it
had
and you were just
to-
telling me about it.
No, that was all after the fact.
You got your permanent
but we
residency.
were applying for a de facto
But we didn't leave.
relationship
I
in
had
Ireland.
to, yeah. So when we were in Ireland, so after he got his PR, so we stayed in Canada then for a couple of years while we worked through that. Like he couldn't go home until
Right.
he got his PR.
That's right.
Yeah, it feels kind of inhumane,
Well, he did.
this process.
He went home because his visa was up
In 2010.
in 2010. Like at the end of his thing, he went home. He was away that summer while he waited for like a bridging visa or something like that. And then that came.
Yes.
And he came back. We actually like signed for a place before he left. So I was like, "You're coming back because
You're coming home with me.
So we met December 26th, had our first date December 30th, and then we signed for a home, like not buying, but renting a place. Like,
No, I wasn't even there. I didn't get to see it. You did all that by yourself. I didn't get to see the place.
really?
Nope.
Oh, well, I picked a nice place.
Yeah, she
Really?
did it all. Yeah, you did it all. I didn't see it. Remember, Geraldo had to help you move in and do all
I knew
that.
no, we signed for it before you left.
No,
But you weren't there to move us in.
I don't recall.
Your friends
seeing
had
it.
to move us in. Anyway, there's
Fado,
many
that's a long
stories in there, but basically, we then were in Canada for a couple of years as we went through the process of that. Then we went to Dublin, lived there while you did your visa or your more schooling. We were gonna stay, and we applied for my like right to work in Ireland, like, because I was on a 1-year working visa, and then we were like, okay, we're gonna stay. So we applied for what is called a de facto. I don't know if that's what it's called now in Ireland, but basically it's your right to live and work in the country as long as you're still with your Irish citizen. So like, it's not a PR, but it's as good as like I could live and work there for as long as I wanted. But then I had the bright idea to go and do my master's.
We went to see a show.
I don't have many regrets in life,
We went to see a theatre show.
but I wouldn't do that again. It's not a regret. It's just I would have done things differently if I had been able to foresee things. But it's all good.
Yeah.
We
We went to see a show in Dublin, and she kind of like,
and it was beautifully done. And
you're like, oh, maybe I should get
maybe
back
I should
into
get back
theatre.
into design.
Yeah.
I should have just. I would have if I could go. People say sometimes like, "Oh, what would you go back and do in life again?" I think I would work harder to get into the theatre scene in Ireland. And just like
No way.
explored it there instead of gone to do my master's.
Oh,
But
just
you
wait
live
until the
and learn.
kids are 10 and bring them back.
Yeah,
know?
you never know.
You never
I
know.
think my love of theatre has changed.
You like to watch
I
it.
like to watch it now instead, and like discuss it and things like that. But
Yeah.
it's a lot of work to be paid
Late nights.
nothing. I mean,
Yes.
you get paid, but it's just like not the lifestyle I'm interested in. But I like to appreciate it as a educated audience member now.
Yeah, I love that. Definitely. You could come work at Stratford. Then we'll be like, short drive away from each other. Brilliant.
We've been to Stratford a couple times. I went in high school once on like a field trip from.
I remember you
That was a
telling
big
me
field
this.
trip. That was awesome. And then we went. Have we been
It's
twice?
2013. We've only been together once.
Okay. Our friend Robert Marcus and his wife actually now, but they live there and work in Stratford, so it's nice to see them when we're at that end of the country.
So you guys have traveled alone together, or you've traveled alone, you've traveled together, you've traveled with your kids. How do you choose, I guess now how you choose to travel is mostly based on family, right? Like staying connected with those in Ireland. But beforehand, how did you choose like the countries in Europe or the train trip or all these other things? What was the deciding factor?
That's a good question. Some of it is experiential, like us wanting to do different things and experience different things, and then other things it's circumstantial. So like when we were living in Ireland that time, we went to Italy because a friend of mine was getting married, and so we were invited to that wedding together. And your parents planned a trip to come over as a result of that, right?
Yeah, so my parents had decided that they were going to come and visit since we were living away for
That's
a
right.
year. They were like, oh, well, we should go over and experience Emmett's culture and all that, like before you guys leave. So they were like already planning a Europe trip, and then their top destination tends to be Italy. They're both like really into art history and the food and all that over there. So, and then at the same time, your friend who is Italian, like, is getting married in Italy. So we're like, oh, well, we'll come and meet you in Italy as well. So we went to the wedding, and then we met up with my parents and did, I don't know, a week and a half in Italy with them.
Yeah, we went to Florence, and it was mostly Florence that we spent time with.
Yeah, we were in Roseto on the other side of Italy for the wedding, so that was kind of nice to experience that side of.
Yeah, so that one was kind of circumstantial, but like the train trip across Canada was purely.
That was you drove that, as in that was your idea, and I think I made it happen because, well, literally because I planned it in the night. But
I think we've already gone over that.
You had said when you had. I was like, I think I had asked you, like, is there anything you wanted to see or do in Canada? Because you came to Canada to see it. And
that's right. And I said I'd like to.
You said you had always thought about like traveling across it, like seeing more of it. And then I don't know where I got the idea. Maybe my parents mentioned it. Maybe we just looked it up.
You just took it so literally, like, oh, you want to travel across Canada?
So, and I like, the thing is, I don't like car travel. I am not a car travel person. So I get really nauseous even when I'm driving. It's not the best situation. Like, I don't enjoy car travel, which sucks because so many people go on road trips and it looks so amazing, but it's not my cup of tea. So I was like, okay, well, if we're going to see it, we should go by train instead of just like hopping over it by plane. And then at the time, there was this insane, amazing deal where it was $1,000. You had to be under 30 or under 35. But
under 30, I believe.
Via Rail had this special pass for $1,000 for 3 weeks of train travel, unlimited. Well, the 7 one-way tickets with a stopover in each one, which is 14 one-way tickets. Yeah. So I was like, all right, there we go. It was a cheap way to see Canada. And we did that. So that was really cool. That was how we chose that trip. And we didn't need to come back, right? Like, we only needed to get to one end of the country because we were flying out and leaving Canada anyway. So we decided at the end of your time in Canada, we would do that. And
that's such an epic way to like close
that
Really
chapter.
cool.
Honestly, yeah. Oh man.
So we hit Stratford on that trip.
We did. That's right.
Right? That's where I think we've been twice.
You know what the weird thing?
We have been twice together.
I don't know if you guys ever think about this. You know where you see those movies and it like shows people passing each other on the street at one point, and then like 5 years later it shows them they meet. I'd been out to Vancouver in like I forget if it was 2010 or 2012 or whenever it was, like around that time, and in some of the areas that you've talked about, Granville and whatnot. And I would have been in KW around the time that you guys were passing through Stratford and everything. So I don't know. Sometimes my mind is like, funny. Did we at some point? Yeah, right?
Some serendipitous event.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%. 100%.
It was cool. We even did like the Parliament buildings and like just things as like a Canadian. You're like, oh, I should really see these things of my country. But yeah, so most of it has been like kind of a happy accident between things we want to do and aligning with other things. So like one or two things that we wouldn't have gone out of our way to do.
Yeah, I'd say that we're not like spontaneous travelers, go down to Colombia for the weekend like someone we know.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I mean, like,
says the couple that like decided to get a place together after only a few months of knowing each other. I would say there's a lot of spontaneity.
That's true. Different kind of spontaneity.
Yeah.
but like from like a traveler perspective, it's often been a very planned thing. Like most of our travel is quite planned.
And we try to leave space for like not planned, for some spontaneity within it. Actually, the trip to Italy was so nice because we went with my parents, or we met my parents there. My dad is like incredible planner, and he plans things down to like the T. And so
like 15-minute blocks.
So he would like, and he knew what things were in what areas of the city. So like he'd plan day one around this area of the city, like this museum and this gallery is only open on a Monday and Tuesday, so we're going to make sure that we center around that area. So I think he planned a morning activity and an afternoon activity, and we could choose to show up or not. It was amazing. It was like, and we stayed in different places because they had booked things, and we booked our, like, we were staying with,
We stayed in George's.
we stayed in the bride and groom's home in Florence
Wow.
because they were away. So we stayed at their home. So, yeah, we met up and we would do things. We didn't have to do all the things together, but that was brilliant because I love going to museums and galleries, and I didn't have to plan anything. And I knew that like we'd get to do enough. And so we chose usually a morning or an afternoon thing to do with them, I think.
Yeah.
Like we would go to the Duomo together, but then they would do some sort of foodie tour and we would just chill out for the afternoon. Or if my mom and I were too tired, then my dad and Emmett would go off and do like wine tasting somewhere, and my mom and I would relax. I don't know. It was a really once in a lifetime kind of trip.
That's the nice thing about being in small groups too, is you can kind of like break off into different pairings or do something as a full group or do something on your own, and like you got that variety in there. That's super cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of family though, I'm curious to know what travel was like for you guys growing up, and if that sparked the adventure and choices to like live in different countries later on for you, and the other travel that you did. What do you have, like a favorite childhood memory or something that?
I mean, our family didn't travel very much as kids at all. I think my first trip was to London when I was like 11 or 12, so it was my first time on an airplane. We just didn't travel very much. We didn't have a whole lot of money to travel.
Or even like
huge
local travel, like car rides, things like that.
Yeah, we did lots of. I mean, a lot of my childhood would have been my grandparents lived like a 4-hour drive away, so a lot of it would have been on weekends going to them. And I guess I would have gone places with my friends. Who, like one of my friends, David, you would have met him at our wedding. He was my best man, so his family has a place in Spain, so I would have gone there at times. They also have like a home they would book in August at Culdaff Beach, which is like a beach close to us. So much more local, getting away for a week or two. Aside from Spain. So that's awesome. That was kind of what inspired me.
Yeah, my family didn't have a whole lot of money to travel. I remember saving up for our Disneyland trip. Like that was like the first trip, and first time I was on a plane, I think I was in grade 8. So what's that, like 13 or something?
13, like 14,
yeah. And that was the only family trip we ever did that required a plane. Everything else was we would drive out to, I had family in Saskatoon, so we would drive from Vancouver. Well, no, we didn't live in Vancouver at the time. We would drive from Nelson to Saskatoon. Only did that a few times, I think. But we would drive like out to Victoria because we lived in Nelson, and so that's a 12-hour drive from Nelson to Vancouver.
It's a decent trek when you don't do well.
Rides. I think yes, it was painful. I think you could do it much shorter. I think people do it in like 8 hours, but seeing as we had to stop a lot for me, but my dad was one of those people that like powers through, so it was like it wouldn't be an hourly stop. It would be like every 2 to 3 hours, but then it would be like a 2-hour stop or whatever. But yes, I've always been a nervous car passenger because I get car sick, and doesn't matter if I sit in the front seat. It makes it better sitting in the front seat, but I still get like dizzy and headaches. And
I can relate. I got car sick a lot growing up. It's how I learned to sleep anywhere, because that was the only thing that would let me not feel sick. Yeah, but it paid off, because now I can literally sleep anywhere and I'm good to go.
That's really helpful. I can hardly.
It's a good skill to learn.
In cars, I can't sleep in a car. But yeah, so we did car trips. I think we drove out to like Alberta, and we did like Drumheller when I was a kid and that kind of thing. All because like it was always circumstantial too. Like we needed to visit this relative, or there was a family reunion or something. I didn't get over to Europe until second year university when I used some of my student loan to travel.
Best use of a student loan for sure. I love it. What's been
But yeah, going back to your
biggest-
question. Oh, sorry. Go
Yeah.
ahead. I was just going to say, go back to your question. So I had remembered that what had inspired me a little bit was, so I have three older siblings, but two of them are quite a bit older. So there's one that's 2 years older, and then there's a 10-year gap, and then I've got an older brother and sister. So it's like 12 and 14 years older than me. And they would have done quite a bit more traveling ahead of me. So my brother would have disappeared and went to Australia for a year and Seattle for a year, and my sister went to Vancouver and traveled other places. So seeing my older siblings traveling definitely inspired me to be like, okay, I should do that.
Yeah, very cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, I just wanted to get out, and I was a theater nerd, so going to like London to see the West End. I always liked, learning about England, and so I think that was probably the initial, like, oh, I want to go and see these places that I've read about in Jane Austen. I was interested in art history and interested in architecture. I need to like go and see these
them
places.
for yourself.
I was like, oh man, that's so cool.
Just like our
But
kids
like,
have
and
to
now
travel.
our kids have to travel to go and see.
So true. One of my questions that I actually haven't asked any guests, but it would most apply to you guys, I know for sure, was, have you ever fallen in love on a trip or while living abroad? We've already covered that though.
Guilty.
Yes,
Guilty.
we have. Didn't somebody
Yeah.
say like?
Oh yeah. There's like, so the little village that I grew up in Ireland. There was this guy that he's an older guy, probably like he was like 70 by the time I left, and he said just the day before I left to come to Vancouver, he's like, "Ah, brother, you'll take off and you'll meet some Canadian woman and you'll never come back." And sure enough,
Okay, I'll come and help you.
Yeah, no problem. That's too funny that he said that.
he called it.
Did you ever get to go back and talk to him about that?
I did, yeah. Like when I brought Holly back.
Okay, we're gonna have to cover this when she comes back to the couch. I love it. Okay, so I want to circle back to this. An older gentleman at home for you said you're gonna find a woman, fall in love, and never come back.
Oh, I know Alan.
Yeah.
He's like, I told you.
He said, "I told you, brother," because that's the thing. He's like a religious guy. So he's like, "I told you, brother, you'd go over there and you'd find yourself a woman and you'd never come back." And sure enough, so I brought this woman home to Donegal to show her off.
And when he went back in that end of April, because his visa was up, I had booked like maybe a week or two prior. I was like, okay, you're going to be away for the summer, and I've got the chance to come because my work was going to be doing renovations, so it's going to be closed for a week or two or something like that. So I was like, I'm going to Ireland. So like he had only gotten home like 3 days or 4 days, and then I was there.
This woman came following after me.
So then I was there for a couple of weeks. Yeah, I think I had a 2-week trip, and then the Icelandic volcano went, and all flights and everything was canceled. So then I couldn't go back to work. So anyway, that trip I had booked with a travel agent. So they took care of everything and they rebooked me, but I couldn't get a flight until the following week. So I had a whole extra week in Ireland, but he had accepted a job and to work for the summer. So then I had to go and meet up with you at your job. Because I had gone, anyway, there's lots of details.
Okay, wait, hold up. When you bought the tickets to go see Emmett as he left, did you stay with Emmett's family on that trip? Did you meet everybody at that point?
I met everybody on that trip.
Oh, yeah. You met everyone.
I met everybody.
Brave souls.
His sister and him. So I flew into Belfast, which is where his sister lives, and they came to pick me up.
Yep. Oh, I was with you. But
Was
Natasha.
that Belfast then?
It was Belfast, yeah.
And they had to pull out, he had caught the stomach bug between landing in Ireland and me arriving 3 days later. So they had to pull over as we were driving back from the airport.
I just picked her up from the airport.
And he was had to throw up on the side of the highway and all.
And Natasha was like, per nerves, just got Emmett.
So I think you were sick in bed for a couple days.
Yeah. So you really had to get to know everyone because I was just upstairs.
But yeah, we stayed at a sister's house together, and then we went down to the home house in Donegal, or up to the home house, I should say, and met his parents. And
I guess we moved fast, all right, if you look back at it.
Hey, when you know, you know.
I think you're like
There you
forced to meet somebody, like to meet people when
It's so far away.
it's so far away.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we just were like, yeah.
Yeah, and then like when we came back to move from Canada to Ireland in 2012, so this was like 2 years later, I also accepted a job in London for that.
That's right.
For that whole summer.
But we were like, we don't have a lot of money, and I don't have a job yet.
I was crashing on someone's couch in London.
So in London, we made the decision that he would go and work in London for like 6 weeks, and I would live at the home house, in Donegal with his mother and father and his grandmother.
You guys need your own podcast.
So there's all sorts of side stories of like I just made myself at home. I did everything. Like I'd go grocery shopping with his mom. I made his grandmother tea twice a day, and I don't know, his parents would go out and do their chores, and I sit at the kitchen table, and random neighbors would come waltzing in the door as you do in Ireland with like no announcement. They'll just be like, "Oh, where's Mary?" And she's out, but I can make a cup of tea, and I just sit and chat with neighbors and look at the donkeys and keep myself busy. And yeah, it was really fun. And then we had a friend's wedding to go to down in Mayo, Brian and Kristen.
All right, yeah.
So then he came home. He came back to Ireland from London, and I traveled down from Donegal. We met there, went to our friend's wedding, and then he went back to London, and I went back to the home house for another couple of weeks.
Separate ways.
And then eventually came back, and we moved to Dublin.
Yeah.
Damn,
together. So,
I will read the book when it comes out, even though I've just heard the story. Put me in line for the pre-order.
It's like the follow-up to P.S. I Love You. Except it doesn't have a dodgy Irish accent in it.
It's a real one.
That movie was such a thing the year that we moved there too. I remember all the girls at the time. Oh my god, every North American girl that I met was like, "I'm gonna have my P.S. I Love You moment." And at the time, I was not fresh from a breakup, but like a few months out. First love, blah blah blah, whatever. And I was like, I want nothing to do with men. The movie was great. That's rubbish. Keep them all away from me. But everybody talked about that movie that year.
Oh, I didn't realize it was such a big thing.
Yeah.
Wild. Oh, man. Okay. There's so many tangents I want to go down with you, but we're going to go on to some other things.
We'll have to do that for one offline.
Yeah. Subscribe for the extra content.
There you go.
The juicy details.
Yeah. Okay. I don't remember if we talked about this at all, but did the pandemic impact your travel plans and goals at all, or was that not really a thing for you guys?
Well, it affected our travel plans in that we were in Ireland when it was announced, so we flew to Ireland.
We had gone to Ireland March 4th.
This is the points trip, right?
Yes.
Tell everybody
that's
this
right,
disaster.
Was it points trip?
Yeah, that was the first. No. We started the points after that.
The points trip was the first trip after the pandemic.
Yeah, so we started earning points after all your guidance in like 2021.
Yeah, these guys were my first clients, everybody.
Were we actually?
They are living proof. Yeah, you were. You were my guinea pigs. So thank you.
Well, it worked.
It worked, yeah.
It worked. We'll talk about that trip in a second. But
the COVID one,
we went to Ireland, and my mom was going to be in Thailand or something, and so my dad was going to do a Europe trip because she was going to be away. So like, it really messed up our plans. But we went because we checked in at the airport, and she was like, "Oh, has anybody been sick recently?" And we were like, "No, why?" She's like, "Oh, some people are getting sick, and some people are choosing not to go on their trips." And we're like, "No, we're good." So we just like went, and as soon as we landed, it was almost like everything's like started to
and everything in Ireland was ahead of everything in Canada because like everything was going down in Italy. That was like Italy was being hit really hard, so like everything was locking down, all the playgrounds and every
Yeah, we'd only
establishment.
just got there, and then everything started to like just lock down. People were worried about toilet paper, and it was
Hannah was
like,
just like,
I
"This
was like,
is-
this
this
is
is-
ridiculous. Like,
The Irish are taking this too far.
oh, we had 2 little kids, and like nothing had been said at home, like in Canada, like, do you know, nothing was that big of a
It
deal.
was not on the radar.
And then
here, no.
to like come, and it was like there would like not being able to like go anywhere with like 2 young kids, and yeah, you just didn't
It was a
know.
brutal trip.
It was a brutal trip. But so basically, we were supposed to go. Oh, we were supposed to go to Scotland, and like, because we'd been to Scotland for our honeymoon, we were supposed to go there and
Oh,
meet
shit, I
my
forgot about
dad
that.
there. No, my dad was supposed to come to Ireland and then meet my dad in Scotland. We were going to go visit like where he spent some time living in Scotland as a child. So we were going to go to the army base there, like look for their home. Then we were going to go to London. Like it was like such a, and everything started to like break down. Like those flights, I think the airline went under that we booked with or something right before COVID. Like it was such a bizarre, so we didn't even have flights to get to Scotland anymore.
So we cancelled that trip
So we
even
cancelled-
before we left, right?
Yeah, but it was like the day we left or something, and then when we got there and we had to start changing our flights to get home because everything was starting to lock down. And oh my god, you spent like hours and hours, like 12 hours on the phone, and it was not a good trip. When they rebooked our flights and we got
Back
to
to
Heathrow,
Canada.
we couldn't get.
They tried to put the boys.
They tried to put our like 2-year-old children in another like area of the. They had waitlisted our kids.
The twins.
The twins.
But we were on the
But
flight.
we were on the flight, and we were like it was such a mess, and there was like they had to downgrade the planes where there were hundreds of people that didn't have flights, and they were like, just wait, we'll sort it out. And Emma and I were like, no way. Like we just like marched onto the plane essentially. Like we went through the whole line to check in. They're like, oh, your kids are waitlisted. I'm like, we're getting on this plane. Like, they're like, oh, okay, we'll find a spot for you.
Because they were like telling everyone to wait, like so they could sort out, but we just kind of
were like, no, because that doesn't work. If you're in a situation and you need to get on a flight, and it was no, we were just like, we are not.
You could see all these cards falling. Like, no, if we wait here, we're gonna be
stuck. So then they wanted my kids to be separate on the plane. I was like, because that's a good idea, having two, like, what is the, anyway. Eventually, we all got in a row, because then they wanted Emmett and one child on one side of the plane and me on one child, and I was like, my kids are still breastfed. Like, do you really want Emmett and the children to be, like, screaming for mom? And anyway, so it was a whole
So it affected
ordeal.
our travel plans.
Yes, COVID affected our travel plans because we were
little.
home. We were only away for like a week and a bit on like a 3.5 week trip.
Yeah.
And all that time that we were away, we were rebooking flights just to try and like get home.
Yeah.
And
oh my
then
gosh.
we didn't travel for a couple of years.
Yeah, so then we went over in June 2022, July 2022, and that was our first time using points to book anything, so that was cool.
Yeah,
We got 3 flights? 2 flights or 3 flights?
I can't remember if it was 2 or 3 flights.
Like 2 seats.
I think
2
you had
round
2
trip
for
flights.
7. Yeah, You take it away. I remember what it is because I tell people all the time, but you tell it.
What was it?
Yeah, I
think it
actually
was-
can't remember.
I thought it was 2 direct flights, Vancouver to Dublin,
Yeah.
Yes.
for $70 return.
Okay, so we had a new one. That's what it was. So then they were 3. The boys were 3, but then we had a third.
Yes.
So then Oshin didn't need a seat, but we paid for a seat.
That's what it was. Yes.
Because I didn't want him on my lap the whole time.
But yeah, I remember because we had reached out to you in like some point in
A year
2021.
before that or something.
It was like June. Yeah, it was like 1 year beforehand. And I was like, that's when we first started to like figure out all these points and credit cards that you can use, and we were completely oblivious to it. And as business owners, because we
you had the one business at the time. Now you have 2 businesses.
Yeah, so we have one primary business, and then we also have a second business,
Startup
which is
kind
kind
of
of so we purchase lots of things for the business, and you were like, well, use that to get points.
Yes.
Get this credit card and this credit card and this credit card. And yeah, it's been amazing. Like we've got
Mm-hmm.
like hundreds of thousands of points now that we can use on our next trip.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm so
we'll
excited
get all
for you
5
guys.
flights.
Well, I don't know. We've got like 420,000 points. So
Brilliant.
by the time it
Oh
rolls
my
around, I
gosh.
don't know how many that'll get us. But
We're hoping. Well, we're
Yeah.
planning for the next summer trip now.
Yeah, this is total side note, but I've been meaning to reach out to you guys to do like a follow up to see how everything's going with points and miles. So we'll have to schedule that.
Yeah, we'll have to schedule
we should,
that.
yeah.
We definitely, I
Yeah.
think, could maximize more.
Yeah, we're not doing the. I saw you had like the partnership with the company
Chexi.
Chexi. So we haven't been doing that.
Which we probably should, but we'll have to look more into that.
We're leaving points on the table. You'd be
Yeah.
disappointed in us.
Yeah. Not at all.
No,
Oh,
we're just like we're
goodness.
aware it's a thing and that we should
Yeah,
be doing
and we
it.
do our best to like do the small things. So like if we're like in addition to the points gathering on the credit cards and using your credit cards wisely, but just like if there's a large Amazon purchase to like then go through the e-store and those kinds of extra things, or like if you're buying like electronics or something like that, or anytime we need something from the Apple store, which isn't very often, but like if you need new cords or headphones or anything, like just like those little choices, extra choices.
And your little prompts on your prompts on Instagram, so it's like, today's a good day to do this. I usually have on this and do it. So.
Yeah. And if anybody listening to this is curious, I do have an online course. It's called Pay Yourself to Travel, and I'll leave the link for that in the notes. So it's for Canadian, I would say beginner travel hackers, or people wanting to start using points and miles in the Canadian landscape. Or even so it could be for people who have no idea what they're doing and they don't even know what points are, or it could be maybe you have a bunch of points and you use them, but you don't really know if you're doing it properly. So we'll leave that link in the show notes.
Yes, but highly recommend, because it's been a game changer for us.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Okay, tech-wise, I'm curious to know how tech has changed the way that you travel. Like, are you big into, I know that you're planners, so like, how do you prepare? Is it blogs, podcasts, YouTube, social media, guidebooks, recommendations from people you know? What's the go-to?
I know, I'd say that's an interesting question, because in the last, couple of years, pretty much all of our travel has been for family reasons. So it's not like we're doing a whole lot of research on what we're going to do while we're there, because so much of it is involved around family and that kind of thing. Like our last vacation style trip was
like holiday?
Yeah, like a holiday, not just going to see family. Like
or honeymoon?
In Edinburgh.
Yeah,
so like 2016 was the last time we went anywhere
just for
ourselves, and
even that we went to Ireland first to see family,
sure,
and then we went to Edinburgh. But that's fine. I mean, sometimes I'm still, whenever I see things on social media or like Pinterest, or somebody's talking about like, I don't know, a recent trip, I might save things to like a travel saved board just for like future endeavors.
Yeah, a lot of our stuff right now is talking about what we're going to do, like when we have a time where
I have lots of plans for once the kids move out.
Not even when the kids move out, like when we get to a point where the kids can actually carry their own stuff.
That's true. When we've been talking about more recent trips, like when maybe next summer, tacking on like London trips or whatever, where they can carry their own suitcase or like backpacks or that kind of thing, just not like hiking backpacks, but when they're carrying their own carry-ons themselves, and we're not putting them in carriers and that kind of thing. I mean, I think that there's so much opportunity for families to get out and travel with young kids. It just you have to make it a priority, and you have to decide that like you're going to go for it. And if we didn't have the like drive to be like, okay, we need to see our family, we want to see our family, that's our priority right now, then we probably would have like done like maybe a Europe trip or something like that with kids in like
absolutely.
backpacks, you know, like, and spent our points and our money that way. Like I don't think having kids limits you from going on exciting adventures. It just means it's just whether or not that's your, how you choose to spend your points and that kind of thing. Like I definitely think you could travel with young kids.
100%.
They're more.
What are some trips that you guys want to do with the boys?
Definitely, like as Hannah said, like skipping off from Ireland. So because we're going to be going to Ireland anyway, and then Europe is your doorstep, and so we'd obviously love them to take to Italy because we've been there a number of times. We've got a bunch of family in London. We'd like to go to Edinburgh because that's where
take them to Scotland and go like further up through the Highlands and things like that. And
we have a friend that lives in Hawaii.
Yeah, we'd love to go visit. She's got a resort,
gorgeous
like a retreat,
Airbnb.
not a resort, a retreat.
Yeah.
So, Rekindle Farm, I think is the name of their
I'll
place.
link that below too. I've looked at the photos. It looks amazing.
They've got beautiful like yoga retreats and you can learn about their land and anyway, so we'd love to take the kids there also to experience like that kind of thing.
Neither of us have ever been to Hawaii.
And neither of us have been to Hawaii.
Those are kind of the big ones.
I'd love to go. Like, I think at some point going a little bit further, like when all of our kids are like really capable, because they're also quite change is hard for some of our kids. So maybe when they're like teenagers, we have a friend that lives in India, in the Himalayas, and we'd love to visit her and like just let the kids like
that'd be amazing.
Explore, because she says
I'll come and carry your bags.
And
deal.
So we'll definitely I think that's on a bucket list.
I'd also like to go to Australia. Like we have friends that live here right now. The guy's Australian and the girl's Canadian. But if they ever go back to travel, there, I'd also.
I know it's funny because Australia's never been like super high on my list because of just like art history, and one of my top destinations is Greece, so I want to like travel and do a lot of Greece. But I also think that might be one I want to do. Sans kids, I don't know. Maybe when they're older, but like I just want it to be like a romantic trip instead of a.
And I've always talked about wanting to go to Tanzania, like to just see all these wild animals out in their natural habitat.
I never thought of Australia as like, oh, like I have to go to Australia, because it's in my mind it's like a hotter Canada kind of thing, but I know there's way more to Australia than that. And I'm not a big fan of snakes and spiders, but my kids are. They love them. And now that we have friends who I like to go places where I can feel like a local. Like even though I'm a tourist, like I like to sit in the culture and like be and pretend that like, okay, this is what life could be like here. Obviously it's a snippet. You're on a vacation or a holiday or a working holiday.
To have someone to go to.
Yeah, I like to have someone to go to and be like, this is the best. Like somebody's so passionate about their like home. So yeah, there's lots of like ideas out there and that we want to travel with them. And lots we want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Travel has clearly impacted both of your lives. And when I say travel, I also mean living abroad, because you guys have each done that in different places. And that's, as we know, a completely different experience than traveling through somewhere. Yeah, for sure. What do you think is like the biggest surprise, either about yourself or about the places that you've been so far, and the impact that that's had on your life?
The first thing that comes to mind is when I traveled before I met Emmett. My first Europe trip, I went over to be an au pair, and it didn't end up working out.
In Ireland, right?
In Ireland, actually. That's so funny. But I think the biggest thing that surprised me was that when this might be too woo-woo for some people, but when you like put it out there into the universe that you in a sense, you're trusting that the things will work out, that you're the right people or the right places present themselves. And so I think I gained a lot of trust in myself that like, oh, I can do this. I can like travel alone as a female and and I can find work, and I can, one work doesn't work out, and you just like have met the right people to get the right job so that you can stay a bit longer, so that you can make this trip happen. And I think I learned a lot about trusting myself and taking chances that I wouldn't have usually. But yeah, I think that was the most surprising thing, that like you will be taken care of. Like I know this sounds might weird, but the universe wants you to succeed. Like if you're putting yourself out there to go traveling, you're putting out that energy to have incredible positive experiences, to meet the right people. I had been in a car accident before I went, and so I couldn't carry a backpack, so I had to have like a rolling luggage. Not what you want when you're like backpacking through Europe. And I booked a sailing trip, something I would have never done, but that way I could see a bunch of places in Croatia. I went all up and down the coast, met a bunch of people, like didn't have to carry a backpack because my like luggage was on the boat, but I saw all these different places, and I'd never stayed overnight on a ship. I thought, I was like, I get seasick, but like it was fine. And the person that I was roommates with wasn't even supposed to be on that ship. She had like won that package at like a...
You were roommates with her after the fact?
No, I was roommates with her on the boat. I met her on the boat. And then we ended up, like, when my thing in Ireland didn't end up working out, I phoned her and she got me a place to stay in London. And then through her, I got a job and or met some people that then I got a job with, it was all connected.
Yeah.
So that was a really big realization that I don't know. It's a little bit.
It's such a positive way to look at the world. It's good.
Yeah, I think it turns you into a positive mindset of the world, of being okay, good things are going to happen to me, even in when you have no plans and or plans change and you're forced to adjust your expectations.
Yeah, I'm with you. I always say timing is everything and everything happens for a reason. And I honestly think there's no better example than when you're on the road or living somewhere new, because that happens all the time where you just, when I moved to Ireland, I met a guy at a party. I don't remember whose party it was, but it was it might have been the first weekend in Ireland. Anyhow, he ended up being a med student from Canada, and he was moving out of his apartment, and I was looking for a place for me and my friend who was still back in Canada. And he's like, oh, I'm moving out of my place 2 weeks early. You can stay in my place for free for the 2 weeks. And I was like, wait, what? I just met, I have no idea who you are. It was just this, again, serendipitous crossing of paths. And that has happened so many more times. And I think... Mm-hmm. Hannah, like you said, once you're open to it, it happens more often. These things just become a part of your life. These beautiful happenstance moments.
Encounters,
yeah.
What about you, Emmett? What's the biggest surprise for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think as the old adage goes, travel is the best education. And I really think that rings true. When you remove yourself from your safe space, you have to get out there and figure out how to do everything, how to cook for yourself. And I mean, I went to university, so I had to figure out all that prior to that anyway. But just getting out there and really helping you find who you are or who you want to be. I think that's probably the biggest realization that I had.
Super cool. Also, random side note, when you mentioned cooking there, do you guys remember when I was at your place in Dublin and Hannah, I forget what you made us, but I do remember that you made salad dressing for the salad. Yeah. And I had never seen somebody make their own salad dressing, or maybe my mom had and I just didn't pay attention. And ever since then, I like to make my own salad dressing. And I follow more or less what you did that night.
That's so funny.
That's so funny.
It's super random.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay. But I'm curious to know, given that you've both lived outside of your own cultures and that you're raising kids with that cross-cultural perspective, what is home? What is that concept for you, or how do you create it in the different places that you've been? or that you are now?
Thinking about like creating home, like when we weren't there with kids, but when we lived in Dublin, away from home, for me, it was like bringing some of my traditions, like to holidays. Getting a real tree was like a really important thing. So like we made that. We got a real tree and we like bought new ornaments together, and we took our tree on the city bus because we had no way else of getting it home. And like, what were other things for here? St. Patrick's Day, we always hold it as like an important celebration. And like, as far as homeschoolers, we like do units around Ireland, and we
got a bunch of Irish books.
We have Irish books, and like still small things, like we have Twister, but we play it in Irish. So like we'll call out the colors in Irish instead of calling them out in English.
I love this.
Yeah, it's fun.
And making sure that St. Patrick's Day, you know, some of it is like silly stuff that they wouldn't even do in Ireland, but like infusing that pride that they are Irish, that they have, like, this is part of their lives. I mean, we chose to name all of our children Irish names, partly because we think we love
Spoken
them.
from one who has the same. We talk about this often, yeah. Beautiful names, though, yeah.
But I mean, part of it was like a commitment to the fact that that is a very important part of their history, that we want them to feel at home when they are in Ireland. We want them to feel like part of the culture. I mean, they are raised Canadian, but we both want them to feel like, I could live here. I could have been born here with these names and knowing their...
We were just talking about it yesterday about how lucky they are that we're going to be going through and getting their Irish passports this year. Just as they'll be able to, like...
already, will you?
Well, she said that. She's like, that was always the dream as a kid, like to have a European passport, and you can just go and live and work anywhere, and then you can come to Canada and work anywhere here too. It's like...
It's honestly
it's a big deal
such
there.
a gift.
Yeah, but I don't know
what's
for
deal.
You. Like, what helps things feel like home for you? I don't know.
Yeah, that's tricky. I mean, I think one of the things that I struggled with when moving to Canada, and even still a little bit, is that things are a lot more happenstance in Ireland. Like Hannah talks about, people just like coming through the door and no plans made. It's just like, sure, whatever, we'll see how it works out. Whereas something I struggle with here is like everything has to be planned and organised. Okay, you want to have a phone call? Okay, call me tomorrow at this time, rather than just being like, calling up someone and shooting shit, whatever it is. So that's certainly something that I miss about Ireland and Canada.
Yeah. You need to move to Northern Ontario, Emmett.
Already?
My
Is it much
parents
more like
grew
that?
up there. Oh my gosh, my parents grew up there, and it's like revolving doors at people's houses. At least in our family, that's the way it is. And you don't call, you just show up, and if it works, it works, and if it doesn't, that's okay. I'll see you the next time I pop over. Or and our family was a little bit like that growing up here, but my friends' families were not that way at all. So it's definitely not a Southern Ontario thing. I'm guessing it's not a Vancouver thing.
No, everything's very planned in Vancouver.
Yeah.
So
that. But as far as like making things feel home, like Hannah touched on it, that just celebrating things that help remind me and help remind our sons and Hannah of what is important.
Yeah, we always take like St. Patrick's Day. I know it's only like one day, or we kind of spread it over a weekend or a week, but we always go out like to a pub. We take the kids into a pub, like ensure that they know that this is their like normal in Ireland. It's a family meal, and obviously, and we go, my parents now join us on this, like every year they'll come with us now. I mean, we live together, but kind of. For those listening, we do the multi-generational thing. They live upstairs and we have a separate suite on the ground floor, and we love it. It works really well for our family. But
it's funny though, like when the boys were going to school, like they would run.
They went to a nature school.
They went to a nature school, like an outdoor nature school, and they'd run and they'd say to everyone, "St. Patrick's Day is tomorrow. We're so excited!" And they were so excited about St. Patrick's Day. And all the other kids that really don't give a shit about St. Patrick's Day. We're just kind of like,
Didn't even realize St. Patrick's Day was happening, but like we have so many things around it that like, I mean, silly things that also like definitely Emmett didn't grow up with the leprechauns visiting him or things like that, but like they set traps and we read all sorts of like stories. They all know the stories around their names, and just like we really try to make that is, you know, like remind them like, oh, where does Granny Mary live, and like where's she from. We have all sorts of storybooks, like bedtime stories, like as if you lived in Ireland, where like one of them is, when I grow up I'm going to play for Donegal, and then when I grow up I'm going to play for Mayo. So it's like these different competing counties, and it's all, you know, a child and he wants to play for a football team and all this kind of thing. So but you know, having books and things around the house that would seem like you could pick them off somebody's shelf or off a bookstore shelf in Ireland. And it's funny teaching them to like read and write now, because they're like in grade 1 and they've, you know, you're learning the sounds and all the different rules around English and this kind of thing. And their names are like, don't
take those rules and throw them out the door.
They're like,
chuck them
they're
right
like,
out the
hold
window.
on a second, because they've known how to spell their names for a long time, but they'll be like, wait, that doesn't make the sounds that it's supposed to make. And I'm like, I know, you're just gonna have to ignore all of the rules. And your names are in Irish, like, and they have known that, but it's just kind of funny now that I'm coming at it from like a phonetic point of view. This might be confusing because like, anyway, so it's been a funny.
You already kind of are teaching them Irish simultaneously. Will you incorporate any of the structure, the grammar, the writing, stuff like that into their lessons? Or
I would like to get like an Irish tutor like in years to come. Like I don't think they're quite ready for it yet, but like once they're like quite, you know, like strong in their like reading and writing, I'd like to use some of our homeschool funding to like hire, like have a class that we go to, like find a community, like find the Irish community here and see if there's somebody who will lead like lessons, like a fun, as if you were learning French, but like have them Irish. Like,
I love that you said fun and then you said as if you're learning French, and this is coming from someone who loved French class.
I don't know, just like make it a part of their, like, I definitely want them to have an understanding. I don't think that they will ever be like, I mean, maybe they take it and run with it, but like I'd like them to have like a basic understanding so that they could
shut up an Irish kid,
read an Irish sign, or do you know, understand like, oh, those letters together sound like this. So at some point in there, I mean, they're only 6, so
get them started young,
I think. But
get them started young.
Once they're they're a little bit stronger and know they're slow readers right now, but once we get a bit stronger, then we definitely have Irish units throughout the school year right now. So hopefully, maybe in their grade 3, like they'll be a little bit readier, more ready for.
Then we'll send them off to the Gaeltacht somewhere.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask if you were gonna do that. There's actually we have. So I know Newfoundland. Apparently, it used to be that Newfoundland had the only Gaeltachts outside of Ireland.
That's right. Yeah.
However, there's one outside of Ottawa that I've been looking into for a couple of years.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'll send you guys the information. I don't know if they do families. I know definitely adults are welcome to go for. You can do it virtually or you can do it in person.
Cool.
But you might as well do the proper Gaeltacht in Ireland as well. But what is that for anybody who's not familiar with it?
Well, the Gaeltacht is like, so it's a French, because Irish isn't spoken widely across Ireland. There's only like pockets of people that actually speak it fluently, called the Gaeltacht, and it's a quite a popular thing for like young teenagers, like 13 to 16, 17-year-olds, to go off to these places for their summers, learn Irish, but it's also where you have some of those like life-changing coming-of-age experiences. And so, I don't know. I think it'd be cool for them to do it in Ireland. I don't know if they would ever want to do that, but
they might once they get maybe a little bit older. They're home bodies, or like they like being close to their family and stuff right now. But we hope that, like, my hope is that, like, as they get older as well, we'll be able to go a little bit more frequently, so that, like, when we go over every summer, then, like, eventually, maybe they'll stay with their aunts and uncles for a week, and mom and dad can go away for a week somewhere to Greece or just
See ya.
And then eventually, maybe they'll want to do like a Gaeltacht experience, that kind of thing. So it's all ahead of us.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
I think
speaking of language, I love talking about this stuff because you guys know my background is in languages and linguistics.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Can either of you share maybe a couple of phrases in Irish or a couple of words that would be helpful, or any of your favorite words or phrases that you think would be cool to share?
Well, like a pretty basic one is to say how are you is like constatatu. It's like how are you?
Super basic. Woo! Say it one more time.
Constatatu. Is how are you? And it's like Ireland's interesting is that there's a lot of different dialects from county to county, and so the way I say something from Donegal, like even our son's name, Finn, lots of people would pronounce that Fionn. Cahill's name, some people would pronounce it Cahill. Oisín's name, some people would pronounce it Oisín. And
depending
so
on where you are.
It really just depends on where you are. So, what other things?
We read these on their books.
That's right. We read these books, and so we have these Irish books, and they're written by some girl that lives in Ireland, lives in Vancouver.
But
right?
She's an Irish girl in Vancouver.
Yeah, and so she started this thing to teach Canadians about Irish, and one of the books is it's a colour book, isn't it?
I don't know, but in every book, I think there's this little teddy that it's like an additional thing that you kind of like look for throughout the book, even like if it's not talking about the teddy, but it's just a little extra activity that you have to like find it, and then when you find the teddy, you're supposed to shout. You're supposed
to shout "feckum tu," which means "I see you." And so the boys are going through this book reading "feckum tu," like pointing out this thing, which sounds terrible to anyone else. And so I was at Shoppers Drug Mart, like a drugstore, about a month ago, a little bit more, and I was talking to Oisín, my youngest. I was just kind of talking to him on the way to the car.
3.
And he's 3, and some woman stopped me. I think she was like Austrian or German or something, and she said, "Where's your accent from?" And I said, "Oh." She said, "What?" But I was speaking in English. That was the thing. So she heard my accent, but she said, "What language is that?" I said, "Oh, I was speaking in English, but I've got an Irish accent." And as soon as Oisín heard the word Irish, he just shouted, "Feckum tu!" She was just like, I was like, that means
I see you.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But as soon as he heard the word Irish, he just like shouted out, "Feckum tu!"
Oh my gosh.
Any other little phrases or anything? I don't know.
Not really. I'm not very good at
Irish. It was more when we used to grocery shop together, like when we didn't have kids and you'd go and you'd pick out things and stuff. You'd often like say like, "Oh," or maybe when we're making a cup of tea, you'll say the like little words like the milk, like banya, like saying it in Irish instead of in English, and it's just kind of a second nature thing. It's not like you speak fluent Irish at all, but like every once in a while he'll ask for something
I never even noticed that.
in Irish instead of in English.
That must be second nature because I didn't know.
And so that's kind of fun too. At one point I thought I'd like, get a label maker and just print labels for everything in the kitchen, like doors and cupboard in Irish, but I never got around to that.
When the boys get into it.
Yeah.
It's a great idea. It's an awesome idea. I love that. As parents now, what are one or two things that, I guess, on the trip that you've already taken with the boys, but maybe going forward as well, that you think you'll always take with you when you travel, or that you've really liked having in the past? Like must-have travel items for parents.
For kids?
Oh, well, an activity pack. Like those things. What do you call them?
I don't know. I make these different like bags. So there's like, you can get like those like toiletry bags that that fold up, and they've got all these different compartments. So like and they have like a little hook on them. So it's good for like in the car, or it's good for like on the back of the seat in front of you, and you can like fill them, like all those little plastic compartments, with different things for the kids,
cars,
like
toys, markers.
Cars and markers and little things of Play-Doh and
Yeah, those
some
things
of their favorite snacks and things like that.
Those things are essential.
And then as they've gotten older, I also make them little backpacks that they're like a little cloth backpack that can then be like put on the top of their carry-on on the inside, or they can wear it. And in that is like some, like whiteboard erasable like activity books and some sensory things like things to squish or squeeze and pull. Or one thing that we use that I will bring every single time, is kind of a random thing, is and it's helped us at like 3 a.m. wake ups when it's jet lag and you're like in a hotel room, or you're in a room in somebody's house and you can't just like go walking around. There are these little wax like strings. They're like a string, but it's like made of wax, and it's
like a wick.
It's like a wick, and they come in multiple colors, and they come off anything. So you can like shape them because they stick together, right? Because they're wax. Some people use them as like you stick them onto designs on a book, like if you have like one of those whiteboard books, like erasable books. Some people use them to like create 3D animals or something, and my kids use them to like decorate. So they like take them, they like wind them around the like handles, and they make bridges with them that go across from like one piece of furniture to the other, and they stick them to the walls, and they all just peel right off. And they come, they're teeny, so they all come in like a chunk, and you just like peel them off.
My sister's finding them 2.5 years later in her bedroom still. So.
But they don't damage anything. That's the thing. They don't damage anything. The color doesn't come off. It's like it's a really cool little thing. And you put them in a Ziploc bag.
I don't. But
hold on, Emma will look at it. But I just bought like a I don't know, a 60 pack, and then I divided them all up and put them in Ziploc bags, and then put them in each of the kids. Like they each get a certain number of each color, and they just go to town. They're reusable. Then you unwind them and you stick them all back together, and away you go. It is
wax yarn sticks, wax craft sticks.
Yeah, I think I bought like a pack of 300 wax craft sticks.
You can't really see them here.
Okay.
But it's like that, but they split up into like tiny little threads. So each of those colors is like 100 little pieces of it.
So that is like so much. Like has kept them, kept them occupied forever. And I sometimes bring these little backpacks if we're going, like on St. Patrick's Day. I'll bring these because like inevitably we want to sit for longer, and the kids obviously want to get up and walk around, that kind of thing. You can't stop your kids from doing that. But I'll bring these little activity packs with us.
Fun for adults too.
Yeah.
Miss those crayon sheets at the restaurant.
Yeah.
And snacks, and just to let go when you have kids. Yes. Like you can't, like do whatever is easiest. Like don't have like screen time rules on a 9-hour flight. Like just get through the bloody flight. Like just, but put headphones in your child, because that's not fair to every other person on that flight.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, those headphones that like are soft. They're like it almost looks like the kids are wearing like an ear muff thing.
Yeah.
Like it goes. It's a headband, but it's got the the earbuds inside the headband, and they're soft, so you could like sleep on. It's also good for adults, but
awesome.
And they can come in like cool designs. Yeah.
Nice. Well, speaking of headphones, as a bonus for the listeners and with all of my guests' help, I'm curating a travel playlist to share with them. And so my question to you is, and you can answer this separately or together, what's one song that either sums up your travel style or that reminds you of a specific trip? Because I know that, for me at least, I feel like some trips or experiences have themes, like a song keeps on coming up and you're like, oh my God, that song takes me right back there. So yeah, what is it for you guys?
Oh, that's hard. Do you have anything?
Off the top of my head, oh my gosh.
I don't know why, but so there's this artist called Manu Chao.
Oh, that's it.
Oh, no, I was going to say, what, you were going to say that too?
Yeah.
No way, that's weird.
What is it again?
Mine was completely separate to yours.
Okay.
Manu Chao, ManuChao. But I remember being, this is when I was in 2009, so when I first moved to Vancouver, I'd be like on the bus going to work or whatever, and it's a lovely hot summer's day, Me gusta,
Yes.
Hannah, me gusta, me gusta.
Oh,
That's
I
funny.
know this
Yeah.
song.
That song,
It's
the
just
bar,
a vibe. Like
the
it's
bar that I worked in London, in
Drury
no, and East London. What's it called?
I can't remember the name of the street.
Anyway, if it comes to me, but Manu Chao was playing all the time, and it was like summer, and it was like this like dirty, like
It's
little
weird that we thought of the
bar,
same song.
and you'd be like waiting in alcohol at the end of the night. Like I worked in this bar, and you like had to walk on the tables to serve because it was like there was so many people in there. It was wild. It was just another world. Do you know, like when you stumble upon these places that it was the Blue something. I can't remember. Anyway,
It's such like a
Café
summer
Bleu.
Café Bleu.
Like literally, I think that was the Blue Cafe. But anyway, it was at the end of Brick Lane.
Brick
Lane,
Lane.
that's
That's
Brick Lane.
what I was thinking.
And that song was that summer. That
But it's
would have
such like
been
a
summer
summer
like
song.
2008
8 was when you were there, wasn't it?
or 2007. I can't remember. One of those years. And that song was.
And I guess it was
yeah.
obviously still going in 2009 when I was in Vancouver, because that's weird that it's the same song.
That's so funny.
So funny. If it is the same one that I'm thinking of, I actually didn't hear it until a couple of years ago, and somebody brought it up in like a language setting, and I was like, what?
Oh, really?
What's the Rasputin song as well?
The Russian one?
Rasputin.
Yeah.
That was also
That's
played
a
a
good
lot
one.
at that bar.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Interesting. Selection.
Awesome.
It
All
was
right, well,
yeah.
we'll finish with the speed round. So
Okay.
in one word or one sentence, you can answer together or separately. We'll go through these like this.
Okay.
You're going to do her first and then me? Well, I guess whatever.
Whatever you want. Yeah, you guys can rock, paper, scissors that one as you like. So where was your last trip?
Ireland.
Yeah.
Where's your next
Ireland.
trip?
Ireland.
Bougie or budget? Would you prefer to have
Bougie.
one shot?
Give me that.
All right.
We don't have that kind of money, but yes.
Maybe that's why we say bougie, because
that's
we
what we
usually
would-
travel on a
That's
budget.
yeah. We usually travel on a budget, and I prefer to travel bougie.
Bougie. Awesome. Favorite mode of transportation?
Train.
Train.
Nice. You've kind of already, well, you have already answered this, but planned or spontaneous trips?
I like planned trips.
Yeah, planned. I like to know.
It takes the planned.
Guided tours or choose your own adventure?
Choose your own adventure.
Underpacker or overpacker?
Overpacker.
Yup.
I am an overpacker.
You have to be.
I will endeavor to be an underpacker sometime, but when we do it kind of bizarrely, and we even take our kids, like when they're in diapers, they're in cloth nappies, and we travel with cloth even to Ireland. And
Sweet. At least you didn't try to bring
a lot of. I mean, we take some disposables for the plane. That's about it. But
oh, that's a good call. That's a very good call. I was going to say at least you didn't try to bring pots and pans back with you, and that's an if you know, you know story for the three of us when it comes to overpacking. But anyhow, that's for another time.
I like to be prepared in my clothes as well.
Nice. Yeah. Most overrated destination?
Overrated.
Temple Bar.
Yeah. Although 1 or 2 nights there when you first
Yeah,
go
no, it's fun.
a freaking hoot. Yeah. But then get out.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would say that because I don't really. I can't really think of somewhere that I've been like, oh, this wasn't worth it.
That's good. Cool. What
But
about
yeah.
most underrated destination?
One of my favorite places I've been to is Verona in Italy.
I was gonna say Croatia.
Nice. Domestic or international travel?
International.
Mm-hmm.
What home comfort do you miss the most when you're away?
Dill pickles.
It's very specific. I was going to say bad, but all right.
Well, we just lived in Ireland for like a year, here, and they don't do dill pickles. I had to go to Subway to have any kind of semblance of a dill pickle.
I guess on the topic of... I was going to say, I guess on the topic of food, mine would be like an Irish fry-up or something.
Nice. There was that one store in Dublin, though, I'm going to blank on it, but it was blue and white, and it's kind of an importish store. I'm going to blank on the name of the street, but I don't know, Hannah, if you ever found it, but they had stuff for Caesars there. Like, they had Clamato juice and everything else. I feel
It was
like
like Aldi or Lidl or something? Like one of those...
No. No, I'm going to have to find the name and send it to you, but I only remember this store because my friend Chloe, who I met 2 days after I met you, she loves Caesars, and I don't like them at all. But I was at this one grocery store randomly, and I was like, "Oh my god, Chloe, they have Clamato juice here. You can make a real Caesar." And she was like thrilled at that point. But I'm like,
you were also looking for eggnog.
Oh yeah, at Christmas time, there's no such thing as eggnog in Ireland. Even the like if you go to
At least there wasn't
Starbucks, it's not real eggnog. It's like it's weird. It's like a powdered thing that they put in your drink. It's like,
Ooh. Yeah. I don't like eggnog, but that does not sound good.
That was not good. That was terrible. Anyway.
Yeah.
I think I
best
took
piece
that
of travel.
wrong.
No, you're fine.
Pickles. My bad.
I love that answer. What's the best piece of travel advice you guys have received?
Best piece of travel advice I received.
Go find a Canadian.
Oh,
do it.
Yeah.
Go traveling.
I think the best piece is pretty basic, but just I guess it's not really one word. But it's like, make sure you eat. Like, don't get hungry. When I went to Interrailing, one of my friends' mom said, if you guys are getting annoyed with each other, just go and get some food, and it'll make it all better.
That's a good piece of advice.
Yeah, it's a really good piece of advice. Like, just go and get some food, have some food either together or separately, and that will help things. I think that's just a motto for life as well.
Yeah, nobody can handle it when you're hangry. That's solid advice. Hannah, anything for you?
This piece of travel advice. You won't regret it. Like, you just like that. Travel's not wasted time and not wasted money. Like, you're not going to look back. Even like going during the pandemic, like that was like, or at the beginning of the pandemic, like we like lost a bunch of money. Mm-hmm. But, there's people that like we wouldn't have seen for years, or, like there's always like something that comes out of your trip that you're like, well, thank goodness we were there for that. Or like whether it's visiting family, like, or taking your family on an experience, like it's a lot of work, but you won't regret it's not wasted. No travel's wasted, I think.
Yep.
But I couldn't tell you who would have said that, but I'm sure somebody said it to me.
Yeah. On the other end, what's the worst piece of travel advice you've received?
Oh, I take it back. My other piece of travel advice would be that it takes about a day per hour of jet lag to acclimatize kids.
Yes,
I've heard that before. So if it's like a 6 hour, like just so that, so that you don't have any misconceptions. Just accept that it's going, your sleep will be messed up. Your children's sleep will be messed up for if it's 8 hours difference for the first 8 days. So like adjusting your expectations. But worst piece of travel advice? Trying to for my family, going on in I'm going to book an overnight flight because then the kids will sleep and then we'll wake up. No, just don't expect your children to sleep at all on a plane. So may as well take the daytime flight so that you can arrive and it be kind of nighttime. Because taking the advice of a night flight, my kids didn't sleep. So then you're even more screwed.
I'm going to pass on this one. I can't think of any for travel advice I've got, which I guess is good.
Yeah. Window seat or aisle seat?
Aisle.
I like window, which it works out, but there's always a person in between us.
So then he's forced to then choose a middle seat because I went out. But now that we have kids, we like book out entire rows, so it doesn't matter.
That's true.
Yeah, that's so true. If you could go somewhere in the next hour, time, money, kids, nothing matters, where would you go?
Yeah, we'll go to Greece. I would. That'd be nice.
Yeah, pack the kids. Yeah, I'd take my romantic trip right now with the kids.
You can always go back again.
Do a big, Europe trip, I suppose.
Yeah.
But Greece, because it's summer there too, and yeah.
Okay, this next one, you have a choice. You can either describe yourself as a traveler in 3 words or your partner as a traveler in 3 words. May the odds be ever in your favor here.
I don't volunteer your tribute.
I would say I'm organized and
Hannah's giving Emmett eyes right now for anybody who's listening.
I don't know.
Yeah, I was going to say, you like to learn on your travels. I feel like you like to be inspired, maybe, on your travels.
And I've got like I don't know, it's like practical in the sense of having kids.
You also like to chill. Like you're not the person.
Yes, I like to be a relaxed traveler, and so
you like to organize up until you get there, and then you want to chill.
Yeah, I don't want to be hopping around till. That's, I guess, why I also like to go to a place for like a chunk of time, because I don't want to fit everything in. Like I want to do a couple things and then I want to chill. Like I am happy to stay at the home house and drink tea and relax, and everybody can come to me and visit. I don't mind visiting. Just I like them to come to us. Yeah. I like to be relaxed. Yeah. I'm like, if I had it, I'm like spa person. I'm like, that's why if we had the money, it'd be bougie travel, because I'm okay with saying I like to go to resorts and things like that. We don't go to them very often, but yeah, I like to be relaxed and practical at the same time.
Yeah, I would say pretty laid back on holidays. Like to take it pretty easy as well. I also like to explore, not necessarily the nightlife, but like the evening, the crack. Yeah, I like seeing how people enjoy themselves after hours, like going to bars and nightclubs and stuff. Not that we ever really get to do that very often, but that is enjoyable. Do you have any words for me as a traveler? Travel.
Yeah, I guess you're pretty easygoing.
To a fault.
Maybe. You're social. You're a social traveler, so you enjoy going out to bars and nightclubs and that kind of thing. And I might do one of those on a trip, but I'm happy to let him go out. Like, especially when we go to Ireland, right? He's got so many cousins and things like that, and there'll be nights out and stuff, and I'm like, I'll go to one maybe, and happy to let him go and explore. So you are social. You really like to be a social traveler. You're like, I can go out till 4 a.m. and I'm like, drop me off at home at midnight kind of thing. And so yeah, social, relaxed, and
it's been a thread through our relationship.
Good balance.
Yeah.
Social, easygoing, and not a planner.
That wasn't an easygoing category. That's okay.
Yeah. Okay, last 2 questions.
Okay.
Best gift for a traveler, perhaps of the parent sort, then, now that you guys are in that stage?
Like for a
parent? To give to a parent?
Yeah, or something that could help them get through the travel process if maybe it's their first time traveling with kids, or
Like a
or something
physical
for
gift?
the parent themselves, because I feel like the parents get left out sometimes. Once you have kids, we talk about the kids all the time, but we don't talk about the parents.
Physical gift?
Doesn't have to be physical.
Well, I
bottle of
liked.
whiskey.
Like when you come, you're giving a gift to somebody because you went away and you're giving a souvenir.
No, they're going traveling and you're giving them a gift to ease their travels. That's how I understood it, at least.
Honestly, this question has been answered in so many different ways that I almost don't want to say too much, because I'm curious as to how people...
Somebody gave, and this isn't for parents, but I think you could, tweak it for parents. But I remember when we went on our honeymoon, some friends gave us as a wedding gift, high tea, gifted us high tea to, a super nice, fancy place in Edinburgh. I think it's called the Balmoral.
Nice, Kira.
And we wouldn't have ever booked that for ourselves, but it was we loved it. And you were forced to experience something that you I mean, I love high tea, but we never would have, I don't think, actually booked it for ourselves. We were being oh, we'll go out for nice food, restaurants and that kind of thing. But it's when you're forced to experience something new because you've been gifted, so if it was for parents, I don't know, maybe it would be a restaurant gift card that you really like in the destination they're going, or maybe it's an
experience.
Maybe it's a night in a really cool hotel for the family with a really cool pool, or maybe it's a night, I don't know, but contributing to somebody's trip.
Yeah, I love that, an experience.
I don't know, idea. Contributing to people's future travel.
So
cool. Alrighty, last one. Best travel app or piece of technology.
So best travel app for a parent, Playground Buddy. Now you can use that anywhere in the world, and you can put in where you are, and it'll show you the playgrounds where you are.
That's really cool.
And it'll show you, and you can update it as a user, and people will upload photos. So it'll be there's swings, there's a slide, there's a splash pad, there's whatever. So
yeah,
I would say Google
that's
Translate.
Really cool. Yeah, nice. Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah. Very cool. Well, thank you guys so much for coming on the podcast. Honestly, we were long overdue for a catch-up anyhow, so this was a real treat in many ways. But I can't wait to see how the rest of your summer is. I love watching what you guys are up to on the island, and I can't wait to hear about your future trips to Ireland and elsewhere.
Thanks, Tara. And Tara. Hopefully we'll see you out here fairly soon on some of your travels.
Fingers crossed. Yeah. Is there anything else that you'd like to leave the listeners with, whether you want them to check out your social media, your website? We can talk about Steveston if you want in there, or...
we can give a quick plug. We're business owners for Steveston Creative, so we make custom LED neon signage and artwork for weddings, events, businesses, home decor, all sorts of things. So if you want to check that out, we're at Steveston Creative on Instagram, and you'll find all of our other links if you go there.
Sounds good.
Cheers.
And do we want to plug the educational business?
We have a small kind of startup. It's mostly following our homeschooling journey. So if you're a homeschooling family or curious about it, we make our own wooden educational resources as well. So it's at Wonder and Wood. And we don't have a website or anything yet, just starting to upload things, although I've taken a bit of a social media hiatus in the past month or so, but I'm gonna
join your summer.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So, and all of their stuff is gorgeous. I've been watching them along both of these journeys, and I know the quality of work and the creativity is top notch. So go check out what they've got to offer. Buy some signs.
Thanks, Tara. Have to get one for the background of the podcast.
Okay, take care. Oh, yeah, Salancha.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.